Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Aaron. Can I plug your show? No, we've already plugged your show, sorry. I want to thank Michelle and the Junior Achievement team. A little known fact, when I moved up here in 1989, I actually became a JA volunteer, and I have to tell you, it was a great program then. It was a small group of people, and it's a powerhouse now, as you can see from tonight, and all the good work you do. I also want to thank Melissa Smith, Glenn Cummings, Dave Vasconcelos, Andrea Gleason, and Nate Wilds for your kind words. The check is in the mail. I appreciate your friendship. I know all of you are incredibly busy, and the fact that you found time to be in that video means a great deal to me. It's truly an honor to be recognized alongside David and Kristen, and I brought this up for a couple of reasons. The first reason is it really is humbling to go through here and look at all the past laureates. So not just David and Kristen, but all the folks that came before us, but so humbling. I'd also like to thank the selection committee, although I have to tell you, this is a little inside information, but I'm on the selection committee. So maybe I should thank my fellow committee members. I can only imagine the vesting process on that one. Now, for you conspiracy theorists out there, I should confirm how the selection process works. The committee has several meetings throughout the year. It's a distinguished group, and me. And we have a robust discussion about potential honorees. Working off of a master list built over years by current and past committee members, we each independently select our top prospects. I have to say, I wasn't on anyone's list at the meetings that I attended all year. Now, I happened to miss the final meeting this past year, and I think that's why I'm standing here tonight. I didn't realize that listing myself as all 5 of my top selections would gain so much momentum in my absence. I'd also like to thank the ProSearch team who's here tonight. A little over a year ago, we became an employee-owned company, and I couldn't be prouder to call each of you my co-owners. We just celebrated 25 years in business down in Key West, Florida, and we all survived, which is an accomplishment. These folks live and breathe the simple concept of putting our clients and temporary and contract employees first every day. You should all be proud of what we've all accomplished as a team. As they've heard me say many times, we spend more time with each other than almost anyone else. So part of our culture is you might as well enjoy each other. So we take the work seriously, but we try not to take ourselves too seriously in the process. And I also should point out, I haven't done it, but a number of our folks have been involved in the J Titan Challenge, and somebody said it earlier, but you feel like you're giving back until you do that, and you realize how much more you get than you give. So I encourage you all to volunteer. I'd also like to thank Nate Wilds for his leadership and dedication to moving Live and Work in Maine forward. As a recruiter, I'd like to say that I recruited Nate, but the truth is he found me through a mutual friend just as I was launching the website, still unsure what this was supposed to be. Nate is the poster child, as you saw in the video, for an effort designed to market Maine as a world-class career destination. His energy and commitment are inspiring, and he's taking the Live and Work in Maine initiative to places I couldn't have dreamed of. I want to thank my wife, Melissa, who's been the best sounding board for someone like me, a guy without much of a plan, but more than a few ideas and passions. She reminds me on a regular basis that if you want to slow down, you have to say no once in a while. I'm still working on that one. I love you, and I wouldn't want to be on this journey without anyone else. With anyone else. How about that? How about without you? Okay, so, in conclusion, I'd also like to thank Aaron mentioned that I've my 3 children here, Sarah, Dan, and Kathleen, all 3 native Mainers, and as Aaron mentioned, have now returned. I couldn't be more proud to be your dad. You are each on your own unique journey, and the support you give each other to follow your own path is impressive. It's exciting to me to watch you find your way. Wait a minute, something happened here. Oh, there we go. I moved to Maine, as has been mentioned, in 1989 from my home state of Massachusetts. I'm still recovering. Why did I move to Maine? Well, of course, I was attracted by the quality of life, the things we talk about every day, and what we love about living and working in Maine. But there was another reason. I was working for a national recruiting firm, and I was one of 50 or so recruiters sitting in a bullpen environment. I decided I liked the business, and I seemed to be pretty good at it. What I didn't like was that the market was so big, it was difficult to differentiate myself. While I had a very successful first year, I realized that competitors that didn't share my values or didn't care about building long-term relationships could be successful without ever doing any repeat business. One of the things I like about Maine was the size of the market and the loyalty people and businesses showed to one another. When I came to Maine in 1989, I faced the reality that I was from away. I know we're not supposed to use that term anymore, but that's what people said to me, literally. That I would have to overcome the skepticism of someone who wasn't a long-term Mainer. I actually saw this as confirmation that I was in the right place. The idea that I would have to really earn someone's business was exactly the point. If I had proved myself and delivered on a commitment to underpromise and overperform and take a long-term relationship-based approach, frankly, if I just simply did the right thing and owned problems when they happened, I'd be successful. Game on. In 1993, my employer was moving to their corporate offices to Tampa, Florida. Strangely, they couldn't believe why I didn't want to go. I will say this. I started ProSearch in 1994, and that was 25 years ago. I want to thank all the Maine employers, as well as job seekers, temporary candidates, and our vendors that appreciated our approach and who've placed their trust in ProSearch team. We and I don't take it for granted. I also need to thank the Maine employer community for their ideas as I formulated what Live and Work in Maine could and should be. And thank you for your ongoing feedback and support. Many of you are here tonight, and I appreciate our friendship and your commitment to the state of Maine. I have to say, this is one of the other things I love about Maine. In Maine, leaders see past their own self-interests and realize that we need to work together to solve big problems. And in Maine, workforce retention and attraction is a big problem. These employers knew that continuing to take talent from one another wasn't going to solve our statewide talent shortage. At Live and Work in Maine, we like to say that we're all in this together, and the over 400 employers who continue to support and encourage us help make our mission a reality. I also have to acknowledge that it would have been easy to be a bit skeptical about a guy who owns a recruiting firm starting a statewide recruiting site. But those of you who know me understood it wasn't about me, so thank you. I want to thank Heather Johnson and Denise Garland from the Department of Economic and Community Development for their early and ongoing support. Just because I hate reading, I'm just going to go off script for a moment. So I called up DCD because one of our target audiences was going to be tourists. 35 million people come through here. They love coming through here for a week or two. And I say, okay, wait a minute. We got to figure out if they've got a database or how can we tap this? So I call up DCD, or actually I call up the Office of Tourism. They transfer me to Denise Garland. And if you've ever met Denise, first of all, she's the most capable person up in Augusta, but she also is from England, and she has this really thick English accent. So only in Maine can you call up the state of Maine, the government, which I've never done before in my life, and I get this English woman on the phone, and I'm thinking, if I got the wrong country or what? And I tell that, Denise is not here, I tell that to her face, so I'm not, So anyway, I appreciate their support. I also need to thank Kim Hamilton of Focus Maine, who's here, and Ed Cervone of Educate Maine, who's also here, for their early and ongoing support and their continued guidance. Maine's lucky to have both of you. So a quick Live and Work in Maine story. Recruiters know that the best recruitment strategy starts with retention. For several years now, people in Maine have wanted to talk about the brain drain. I was invited to be interviewed on a radio show a few months back. And the host, prepping me for this show, told me ahead of time that his daughter, who had lived her whole life in the Portland area, would be in the studio with me. Matter of fact, she'd be mic'd. So he challenged me. He said, I want you to talk her out of leaving Maine. I want you to talk her into staying in Maine now that she's a young adult. and she's declared that she wants to leave the state. So who better than the guy who launched Live and Work in Maine to talk this young lady off the ledge and keep her here? So he wasn't happy with me when I told his daughter on air, after I asked her why she wanted to move along, that it was okay if she wanted to leave. Then I looked at him and said, so let me understand this. You've done such a great job as a dad that you've brought up a self-confident enough daughter that she wants to go out and explore the world for a little while. What's the problem? She'll be back. He had difficulty arguing at that point, especially on air. It also occurred to me that I grew up in Massachusetts. I went to school outside of Boston, started my career in Boston, and in my 20s, I decided to move away. Not because the greater Boston area didn't offer opportunity. We all know it's considered a world-class city with tremendous opportunity. The reason I left was because Boston and Massachusetts was all I knew. So here's my point. It's okay if our young people decide to leave, but I don't want them to think they have to leave due to lack of opportunity right here in Maine. At Live and Work in Maine, one of our target audiences is what we call boomerangers. I think Heather mentioned before that she's a boomeranger. These are Mainers who have left, who now have several years of great life and work experience, and now want to focus on things we offer here in Maine. A shorter commute, quality health care, a sense of community, great access to the outdoors, and oh, by the way, world-class employers with exciting career opportunities. Here's my last point. Now that I'm old enough to be providing career advice to my friends' children, and I've been in the business of providing advice, or at least discussing career options for over 30 years, I've developed a short version of my career speech. And here it is. Unless you decide at age 16 that you're going to be an airline pilot, an architect, or a doctor or nurse, or if you were Steve DeCastro, who at age 8 knew he wanted to be a banker, you're like the rest of us. Most of us didn't have much of an idea of what we wanted to do when we were in high school. And we were making decisions about colleges when we weren't too sure where we wanted to go career-wise. So I tell my friends' children, your search for a career path becomes a process of elimination. You probably won't have a single aha moment, although you might have a great mentor that'll help. But rather you'll bump along into opportunities along the way on your journey. You'll get an idea of what you don't want to do, which helps you find your path. I mention this because I want to say to those of you who volunteer in the classroom for junior achievement, number one, thank you. I also want to say that the JA projects and the programs are fantastic, but don't overlook the fact that you're someone in front of students and you have a unique opportunity to tell your career story. And since you're not their parents, any career advice you give them might actually be listened to. You're a model of a successful and probably messy career track. There's a very good chance that your career hasn't been a straight line. The twists and turns of your career story are compelling. I find the more young people learn about how unplanned and opportunistic most of our successful careers really are, the less stressed they are about their future decisions. It teaches them to look for opportunity and not close doors that might otherwise lead to an interesting journey. So tell your story. It's not quite as boring as you might think it is. Thank you again. This is an honor. Have a great evening. And I think we're going to get you in time. I heard T. Swift is doing a duet with somebody at the Billboard Open, so thank you.